I mean, why is it that groups such as Luxury Jungvi have actually become so powerful?
Well, because you see, at the end of the day, 21,000 Shias have been assassinated. Not one person, not one perpetrator has been brought to justice. Yes, people get arrested in the morning, they are released in the evening. When you're talking about Pakistan, yeah, when the world, when they talk about democracies, they are talking about politicians who can be tossed out if they fail to serve their people. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, people enter politics because of their land and financial interests.
Right.
So you have several dynasties who will keep on getting elected time and time again. They're going to switch from one party to the other.
So going back to the question, why are these groups becoming so powerful?
And because of this spineless politicians,
right.
You tell me that when Hikmatullah Masood, a mass murderer, died, the next day there was a mourning in the assembly, in the Pakistani assembly. They were literally mourning his death, the death of a mass murderer. Now, the death of 70,000 Pakistanis, what is stopping these politicians from coming and to the parliament and coming together and...
so why are they not? That's my question to you. Why is it not taking place?
Because they are spineless, because they have come to power, because of the alliance that they have with these very elements. PMLN came into power. And even, you know, because there's not even a...
Well, first of all, I disagree. At the Friends of Ahlulbayt, as an organization being formed, research has been done on Hazaras, on Afghanistan. We are soon going to publish the booklet. Historically, the reason primarily was not that the Hazaras were being killed because of their Shias. It was to do with land ownership, because Hazaras controlled huge amount of land in Afghanistan, and the Pashtuns and the other groups wanted to take, to take it out from them. So it was primarily political and to land ownership. But there happened to be Shias who were.
But at the moment, it's because.
Yeah, but I'm just going. I think it's historically we have to get it correct. And also, if you look at these groups,
why are they being targeted at the moment?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, first of all, let's the Lashkar-e-Jahangvi and others, the Sipahi Sahaba, they're all now considered as terrorist organization by the Pakistani government. They have been designated as such. But you have to understand something. For Pakistan, Balochistan, as I said earlier, the population is very sparse. So their focus is on the other states in Pakistan, because there's huge challenges for them there. So the security services are focusing, and the army is focusing on in Pakistan, in border with Afghanistan and so on, rather than in Balochistan. And it is not true that people cannot be kicked out if they have had problems in running the country. So, for example, the previous governor of Balochistan had to step down after the massacre that took place previously against the Hazaras. They had, there was a huge demonstrations in Pakistan. Sorry, in Balochistan, people were campaigning against the governor to step down, and he did. He was forced to step down.
There hasn't been a single successful prosecution.
There hasn't been
concerning individuals that have perpetrated these acts towards Shia Muslims. So surely
even forget Shia Muslims, even other Muslims.
Surely that is a bit.
Furthermore, sorry, if I would just like to, I would just like to add that, fine, they have been banned, but it's a ban in name only. If the ministers are going to go, if people like powerful ministers, if they're going to go to their public ceremonies, the ministers going and attending public ceremonies is legitimizing the organization. That's not a ban. They are free to spread their hate speeches. They are free to open their Twitter accounts. Why is it that the PTA is banning the sites that carry the data for the Shia persecution or the Christian persecution or the Ahmadi persecution, but when the Taliban sites never get banned?
I mean, we know, Ahmed Reza, also that the Luxury-e-Jungvi head was arrested about a year ago and was then released. I mean, he was released because there was allegedly no evidence in order to prosecute him. I mean, that does make pretty precarious. Does make for a pretty precarious situation and scenario, doesn't it?
But I mean, it can be true that you see, to be able to go to prosecute someone and through the judicial system, you have to have a proper evidence, right? People sometimes who are leadership, who are in the leadership, who are leaders, they are very clever. They'll make sure that all these attacks or all the killings that takes place, it doesn't. They're not directly involved. So even if, because they are indirectly involved and there is no any evidence linking them directly to these terrorist attacks. So I think I'm just trying to rationalize it. So it's a possibility that because there is no evidence, because I'm quite sure that if there was proper evidence, I'm quite sure they would have
not a single
been
prosecution.
Yeah, but it's very, very difficult. I mean, for example, how can they prosecute his, like this one was a suicide bombing, so the person who did it is been killed.
Can I?
Yes.
Sorry. We have been giving solutions for that time and again. The easy solution to that would have been incognito hearings, which means that the hearing is not public. Separate terrorism courts. Then we give some plans about witness protection. There has to be police training. You see, all of this can be done. All of this can be done, which would actually, because as human rights campaigners, we are not in favor of extrajudicial killings. But if you keep on releasing people, for example, at this moment in time, the army can be, we have a lot of hope in our army, and the army is actually carrying out a military operation. But how do these terrorists? I will tell you one thing, Brother Ali, this is not something that has appeared anywhere in the Pakistani media because there is a blackout. But the terrorists have been released even in January. The terrorists who are self-proclaimed murderers, who have put their videos.
So your
they
point,
have, forget evidence, they have put their videos when they are torturing people and they have been released.
So your point presumably is that the government or certain parts of the government are colluding with these militant groups and indeed members of the judiciary possibly, and that is why we're not seeing successful prosecutions.
What I'm saying is that there is a total lack of will, and to an extent...
Is it a lack of will, then therefore collusion, or is that a lack of will? I mean, which one is it?
Well, I would almost go to the extent of saying that if you look at the election and if you look at the alliances that got made, then it's very clear that these terrorists, 122 terrorist suspects that got released from the prisons, they were free not only to lead their lives as normal citizens, but they were free to contest elections.
Right, let me ask you a question again, because part of the reason that many people believe that we find ourselves in this situation is because we don't seem to say it as it is. So the question I'd put to you is that do you think that the government and certain members of the judiciary are colluding with these terrorist organizations?
They have cowed down, they are scared, they are spineless.
So they're not colluding, they're just scared?
Yeah.
Right. Ahmed Versi?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, states cannot be scared of terrorists.
I didn't say state. I said politicians and the people who are. I wouldn't include the army in it because, like I said, it's the army is.
So there's no collusion. They're just scared.
The politicians definitely are spineless, and the judiciary needs improvement.
So what if I put to you? What if I mean, Ahmed, what's your position on this?
No, I don't think. Okay, might be a lack of will to do something. I mean, they did do, as I said, when there was a massacre last year. I mean, there was a will by the central government to do something in Balochistan, and they replaced the governor and so on. So there is a possibility, if like Shias, right, and with other Muslim communities in Balochistan, if they again start campaigning like they did previously, I'm quite sure they can bring about a change.
Do you think the Pakistani government...
I think they're very much... I'm quite sure it must be very much divided, you see.
Do you think the Pakistani government is doing everything it possibly can to prevent atrocities against Shia Muslims?
Well, are you saying in Balochistan or generically?
Across Pakistan.
I think that they have been trying. I mean,
do you think they're doing the very best that they can?
They are doing the very best they can, but I think they've failed miserably. I mean, because of
do you think they're doing the very best they can?
Can I just say, Brother Ali, the point is that Brother Ali... as my learned brother has correctly said that the governor got removed. I cannot see a reason why we need to remove an individual. What happened when he got removed? What the Hazara Qawm demanded, and everybody remembers that clearly, and what all the Shias, all the Christians, all the Ahmadis, every sane person in this in the country is demanding against the genocide of all Pakistanis is for a military action against Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, for a military action against the Taliban. We do not want a dialogue with these mass murderers. We do not want a policy of this confusion, and that is what our demand was.
So why is that not happening?